Hello, podcast listener. Welcome to this episode of JJ Meets World. You're going to want to make sure that you've got milk in the fridge. That sounds weird, but trust me, you'll know what I'm talking about in a second. And then get ready to laugh and get ready to pull up some YouTube clips. Tucker and I are in a giggle fest right now. Enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is! He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Tucker, Lucas, you are my friend.
Oh.
And you
That's
just
cool.
said something, and I thought, you can know a lot about another person, and I think I do know quite a bit about you, and I realized I don't know this fact about you. You are a 2% milkman.
Oh, 2% all the way.
Do you whole milk at all?
So here's the thing I suspect is the case, is a lot of it has to do with the psychology of seeing a cast clay blue carton of milk, and that's where their 2% ones come in. The color blue, I think, really, for me, looks like, that must be refreshing, right?
Okay.
So elementary school, you parents would sign up what kind of milk you got. You could get 2%. You can get skim. Some kids would get like the 1% green, and that would be kind of weird. Like you'd notice there would be like 1 or 2 of them.
Let's talk milk. Like, let's just lay out, if someone's not from the cast clay area.
Right.
Pink is skim milk.
Yep.
Green, but not a dark green, like a lighter green.
So lighter
is
green.
1%.
Yep.
Blue represents 2% milk. Red represents
Whole milk. Yep. So I always had 2%. That's what my parents signed me up for. And so I'm a 2% guy ever since then. Cast clay all the way. That's my brand. I'm glad that the carton looks exactly the same. Like I don't think it's changed at all.
I barely.
If any.
Cast clay never put missing people on milk cartons, did they?
I don't think they did. Maybe at one point they did, but
I remember reading the book, The Face on the Milk Carton.
Yes.
It's about a little girl. Well, not a little girl. I think she's like in middle school, and she recognizes herself on a milk carton, and it turns out that she had been kidnapped as a child from her biological parents.
What situations do you use milk in to drink?
Oh, I drink milk on a regular basis.
Like, what are you pairing it with?
Cereal, of course, right? Is
Okay.
the standard.
Okay.
But I'll have a glass of milk with dinner. Not often, but from time to time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've actually started drinking water with dinner more than anything else.
Yeah.
But I like a good glass of milk. Now, that being said, I also eat cookies.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'll make chocolate chip cookies, and then I'll dunk that in a little bit of milk, and I'll drink that.
That's the thing is
when I'm at a continental breakfast, I drink milk.
Really?
Almost exclusively.
For me, it's got to be 2%. It's got to be ice cold, and I'm chugging it. And it's only really after some kind of a pastry or chocolatey or sweet confection of some kind. And it's what I assume heroin feels like. That's how much I love it. I love it. So I was telling you before we recorded that I'm really excited for going home this evening once we're done recording. We're actually recording in an evening at the moment, which is kind of wild.
It's like an After Dark episode.
Right? Kind of, except it's just the same as...
Some smooth jazz plays and be like, you're listening to the sounds of JJ Meets World After Dark.
Every episode is After Dark if you listen to it past midnight. But I've got a sugar cookie waiting for me at home. And that's not a euphemism. I have a sugar cookie that's sentient and it's waiting for me at home right now. I got it at Hornbacher's over lunch today because I wanted it to sit and get closer to room temperature, because Hornbacher's, it's one of those sugar cookies that has like a solid inch of frosting on top of it.
Okay.
And so what I what I'm waiting for is for it to get to like room temperature so it's nice and soft, and then I'm going to go and get some 2% cast clay milk.
Yep.
That's ice cold, and then I'm going to eat the cookie, and I'm going to pound that milk.
Okay.
And I'm going to watch...
That's also not a euphemism, pounding milk.
Nope, I'm literally going to pound some milk, and then I'm going to watch true crime videos on YouTube.
Tucker, I want you to listen to something, okay? But I want you to give me your full attention, and I want you to listen to these before I give you your instructions, okay? So just listen to these. Listen to these.
This is part of the instructions that I need to wait for.
Yeah, just listen to these. Just listen. And then I'll give you your instructions afterwards, but not beforehand.
So these don't count as the instructions.
These are not the instructions, except for listening is the first instruction, but you don't get to turn the page to the next round. Spicy East Coast Italian, Billy Club, Italian Nightclub, Hunters Club, Country Club, Beach Club, Jimmy Cubano, Bootlegger Club, Club Tuna, Club Lulu, Ultimate Porker, JJBLT. Which of these sounds like they would be the best sex move?
The JJBLT.
Do you think so? I was thinking it was the Ultimate Porker.
I think,
but there's something about like
I think it's JJBLT because
there's something about Italian Nightclub that I feel like be like, oh, last night she and I we did the full Italian Nightclub.
I just think it's like, what's the JJBLT? You have to experience it to know what it is.
Yeah, right. And it's great because it's got my name.
You know what's some motherfucking shit? I was reading up on how David Lynch was into transcendental meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at these studies about like what that particular version of meditation can do for you and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept trying to find like, okay, how do you do it? How do you do it? And every video I would find was like, oh, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to find a licensed transcendental meditation instructor in your area, and you pay them a fee, and you do and there's like a whole course you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it is there's the copyrighted version of transcendental meditation, which is called transcendental meditation. And then there's the version of it, which is the same thing, but isn't copyrighted, called anything else. And so basically it kind of becomes, there is this thing called transcendental meditation that you can learn. It's very simple. I finally just said, hey, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT told me. I was like, oh, hey, I actually kind of like this use of AI. So don't pay someone to get into transcendental meditation.
Is there a little TM after it, right? Like a little TM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little trademark.
Interesting.
Little trademark.
One of my favorite stories about Del Close, who's essentially the godfather of modern day improv, is there's a great story where Del Close loved to collect antique books. And this is a guy who knew so many people and did so many drugs in his life and just kind of led this pretty interesting series of events over and over and over. So he goes to this antique book auction, and he's maybe like in his mid-20s. And he goes to this antique book auction, and he and another guy are bidding back and forth and bidding back and forth and bidding back and forth. And Del ends up winning the book auction. And this guy comes over and says, hey, it was nice bidding against you for this. Like, you obviously have great taste, right? And Del's like, well, let's go have some tea together. So they go and have tea, and they're having a great conversation, right? And during this great conversation, this guy's like, I have an idea for a new wave health philosophy. And this was in an era when people were coming up with like ways to reduce, and like being healthy was like a big deal. And so this guy lays out this idea he has for what essentially are like a series of health spas and a way for you to lead a cleaner life.
Mm-hmm.
And Del goes, what you told me, like, could make money, but if you really want to make money, you should turn that into a religion, because religions are where the money's at. That was L. Ron Hubbard. And I think that story is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows how true it is, because Del, I think, was a guy who like things seemed ridiculous, but then all of a sudden you find out that he was telling stuff that was true, like that were real.
Isn't it kind of weird? It's almost like going to a class reunion and finding out someone that you knew way back in the day went and did this crazy thing.
Yeah.
Like one of the I just had that feeling the other day driving past billboard for which is it? Hanson Rensvold
That Alex works for?
that Alex.
I just saw Alex in the center of the whole thing.
So he's like the owner operator of it now. So like he runs a funeral home now, and he's someone who I never would have thought would work in the funeral industry, let alone run a funeral home, be the owner of one.
Why not? Or is it because you have in your mind the idea of what a funeral home director looks like?
No, I thought he was going to be a famous violinist.
Yeah.
Because he's a brilliant musician. Was when he was a kid. He was already phenomenal. And I just knew him through music class. Like we were in we were in choir together and in jazz choir together, and then he was in the orchestra. And so he was just this wacky guy who was unbelievable at the violin. So he wasn't like there might be the stereotype of like, oh, was he the goth kid, right? Or was he the moody kid? Or it was like none of those things. And I'm pretty sure he talks about it a bit in our episode that he was in 5, 6, 7 years ago now, where he was like, it took some sort of an experience as an adult for him to realize this might be a pathway for him.
Well, and I think it's not the like, hello, sir, have you thought about your last day on Earth?
Yeah.
There's the idea of the Undertaker, right, is kind of passé, and clearly Hollywood has chosen what that is.
Yeah.
And for us, it's different than that, right? And like he talked about the fact that he can provide this world where he's comforting to people, and they're at one of their most vulnerable, and they're at one of their most lost, and so he can provide, a safe harbor for them.
Do you know what's the job I thought I would be seeing all the time as an adult when I was a kid? Is dog catcher.
Oh,
someone who's in like the wagon that and they just have a big net.
Big net, yeah.
And they just catch dogs. That's what they do, is they just catch them.
And they're wearing like a white milkman type outfit.
Like an orderly
hat that says dog catcher on it.
Like they're going to, like I come from a long generation of, line of dog catchers.
Right.
I
wonder if there ever was someone who was a dog catcher like that.
I bet.
Or if it was just something that like the Three Stooges made up.
I would assume, because it was in old cartoons. I remember seeing it in Lady and the Tramp. But it was I'm sure tons of Warner Brothers cartoons had dog catchers all the time. It was a great foil character for a dog. So I would assume early 20th century, late 19th century, there might have been something like that, because then the kids then grew up to become animators.
But enough of them? Like, that's the question, is like, were there enough of them that we thought that they would be everywhere?
I bet in the big cities, yeah. I bet stray dogs could have become an issue at some point, depending on
like packs of dogs.
Yeah, something like that. So I bet in large cities they had dog catchers.
There's a movie that just came out that stars Amy Adams called Night Bitch, and she's a woman who had like a baby a year earlier, and she hasn't gone back to her job, and like she's up late all night, and her husband's not really like present in the actual rearing of this child, and you don't know if she's going insane or what, but like she's turning into a dog, and so at night she runs with a pack of animals, and like it sounds bizarre. It's a pretty good movie, and it's about like essentially about like mental health and like taking back like who you're supposed to be.
Got it.
Night Bitch, starring Amy Adams. I believe it's on Hulu. So today I had a conversation, speaking of dog catchers, and the fact that I think that the actual dog catcher is what been portrayed to us as a myth, is an exaggeration of what that position was. I talked today at length on my show during the lunch hour about a lie that has been told to almost every kid who's ever been inside a public swimming pool, that we believe, and we have told other kids as generations have gone on, that there's a chemical they put in the pool, so if you pee, like a green cloud like will come around you, so like you can essentially see the pee, so they can identify who's peeing in the pool.
This is the first time I've heard that.
You bullshit.
This is the first time I've heard that.
This is the first time you've ever heard someone talk about a chemical they put in a public pool to help identify who's peeing in the pool.
100%. This is the first time I've heard. I haven't even seen this in a movie. I've never.
Adam Sandler's Grown Ups. The Adventures of Pete.
I've never seen that.
Adventures of Pete and Pete.
When do they have a chemical?
There's a whole the girl who plays the like the Girl Scout type thing.
Okay.
Puts wee C in the pool to catch that, and so like that's an episode of Pete and Pete.
But
big.
that would sound like a strange fake plot device, right? I never heard it as like a rumor amongst kids at the swimming pool or
But here's
anything
the
like
thing:
that.
it's to the point of where it was so
Wee
such a
C?
deep. It was such a deep, real myth that people believe that they've written it into the plots of movies.
Isn't real myth kind of?
No, because a myth can be the substance of the myth is fake, but the myth itself is real. Like the myth exists.
Right. The story exists.
So it's a real myth.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
But the myth
I'm with you.
contains false, like
I'm with you.
fake aspects.
Yeah.
Like
So it's an urban legend.
Yeah, there are real false teeth.
It sounds like an urban legend, right?
Very much so.
Okay.
And I'm imagining it was started by a dude with blonde hair, like swinging the whistle, sitting up there, and he's listening to two kids, and they're like, touched a hot spot. And I'm like, actually, we put a chemical in the pool. So if you pee, we can see it. And then those two kids told two other kids, and before you know it, millions of people across this country are afraid to pee in a pool because they'll be out there. Now, I did some research into it, and the scientists have not been able to come up with something. They came up with something close that essentially takes the sugar that's in your urine and it reacts with the sugar, but it's so diluted in a giant body of water that like you just can't get it to the point.
I think we would discover that a lot of people pee in the pool.
I think people are peeing in the pool. In fact,
all the time.
May I make an observation about public pools?
Yeah.
So during COVID, I didn't go anywhere. And I think I've actually only stayed at like 3 hotels that have public swimming pools since COVID started. Just because I stayed at some Airbnbs and I've been to some other places. But we live in this world of where post-COVID, people think that they're the most important individual in the entire world, and they don't give two shits about the people around them. That I bet people are peeing in pools more today than they have ever peed in pools before. I would dare say that there is a world where someone gets out of the pool, is closer stepwise to the bathroom, and still decides to go back to the giant toilet, aka the pool, and pee in there. There's a world where people are leaning their butts over the edge, pulling their swimsuit aside, and just letting it rip like a fountain into the pool because they don't care about the people around them. And they're like, I'm done with the pool today. Everyone can be done with the pool today. I'm going to just take... And I've eaten 4 hot dogs.
Pool's closed for the day, folks. I decided right now.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
I can't remember the last time I was in a public pool or a private pool.
Oh, I've been in a lot. My sister's got a private pool.
Yeah,
so I'm in that private pool like nonstop.
Yeah,
I'm in it nonstop.
That's making me think of the "I think you should leave" episode where it's like, "I think you're just here for the zip line."
Yeah. Can we talk about that show just for a second?
Yeah,
because it was honestly the sketch comedy show I needed when it came out.
It still murders me. Like it can automatically make me laugh.
The I'm gonna call it a couple sketches that no matter what kill me. The one where it's "Did you really like the gift?" Then eat the receipt. You said you loved it, so just eat the receipt. I eat receipts all the time. The ink's bad for you. Number 2, where Bob Odenkirk is the guy sitting at a different table, and he says to his daughter, I think they're out of ice cream today, wink. And he winks at Bob Odenkirk to back him up. He goes, yeah, your dad's right. We've been friends for a long time. And then he starts this weird amount of things that like the door that he claims goes both ways when he's leaving the job interview, and he ends up like breaking the door. Oh, I think it's pulled. No. I was just here yesterday. And the one that gets me every time is when Will Forte sits next to him on the plane and tells a story about how 30 years earlier, Will Forte was on a dream like opportunity to get his dream job, and a baby played by Tim Robinson was in the back and cried the whole time. It's so good. You haven't seen Friendship yet, have you? His movie?
No, not
Neither
yet.
have
I need
and
to.
I want to see it.
I think Greg liked it because I remember him posting about it.
Yeah.
No, I definitely want to. I need more of him in my life. What's his name again?
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sketch comedy can be done so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And with the fact that anyone can put stuff on the internet, part of me wants to be like, ugh, do we really want to get into this? But there's some sketch comedy I think that's really, really great. And there's a difference between sketch comedy and character comedy. And I think character comedy is kind of having a moment because people play characters on TikTok. They're essentially playing heightened versions of themselves,
Right.
in one way, shape, or another. One of the things I really enjoy are the characters that I came up with way back in the day. And I think that there's an episode where I've sent you some of the sketches we did on Rock 102.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite characters is a guy named Jeremy Bearlocker, who works at Camp John Mellencamp, the nation's premier John Mellencamp experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that Jeremy Bearlocker had to do, like talk about how like they're using a natural bug deterrent these days. And then probably the one that has the worst voice. I use this voice. It's kind of like this for Cowboy's Choice baked beans. And I was like, oh boy, I've come so far in understanding comedy since then.
I recently recited one of our fake news ads.
I just talked about those today.
We did?
With Steve Poitras.
I just recited one to a friend I've been hanging out with, and she just looked at me.
Oh really?
There was no response.
She just didn't.
It was
have the moment.
it was the McDonald's employee ponders race relations over ice cream twist cone. I'm really proud of that one.
Cowboy hat used for non-cow wrangling purposes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Area homeless abused. Free taco
Free
bar.
taco bar. Yeah,
menorah accidentally used in church bulletin.
Church bulletin. Kiefer Sutherland kicks total ass.
Yeah,
that's a really good one. Yeah, and so for those who don't remember it's still great, but it's I think of it as the glory days of The Onion, when
the Onion Radio News Network.
They started doing these little promos of fake news in this little 15, 20, 30-second style. And so we stole that style to advertise for our show, the United Nations Musical Comedy Hour. I won over on Radio Free Fargo way back in the day. And we got Steve Poitras, local personality, local gnome.
Newsman, a local newsman.
Local newsman. He came into the studio and recorded them with us, and they were pretty funny.
Martin Pretty.
Martin Pretty, yes. That, which I think was the name he came up with.
Oh, that's a good name.
I think he was like, it's a name he's used in the past.
One of the things I love the most about that is, yes, we were obsessed with the Onion Radio News Network, right? But the Onion then like gets into doing these video sketches about a fake like Today Show parody, like a fake morning show. I don't know if you've watched any of them recently, but now they are making ones that look more like their CNN broadcasts.
Oh, okay.
And so I just watched one recently about it was like JD Vance like retreating back into his hillbilly thing, and they showed like a picture of like a cabinet meeting, and they had like the waveform, and you could hear him playing a jug in the background. It's just like the production quality on them is so good.
Well,
They
used to have the one that was a parody of the O'Reilly Factor.
Yes,
which was it was an old timey gold prospector.
Yeah, that was so
like
good.
They gave an old timey prospector a show.
Do you remember what his name was? Because again, the Onion always comes up with like some of the best stuff when it comes to fake names.
Oh God, I just remember you and I at the Fargo Theater. Dying. The Onion. I'm gonna put the Onion Gold Prospector, because the writing on that and the actor they got to play the prospector,
it was so good.
Was semi-literate former gold prospector given on cable news show. Let's see.
Claim jumpers to politicians to coyotes, the straight shooter that shook up the 2008 presidential race is taking them all on and licking them good.
Hey, trespassers, this here is Joe Crestbeckler, and this is the
Joe Crestbeckler.
Stance. The sun's beating down, won't be for long, so let's hit the pile. Top of the pile. Mohammedans are fixing to open the tallest building what could scrape the sky. Now, I hung a man or two in my life, but that don't make me a judge, so I don't pass no judgment on these Arabs. But you gotta be full as a tick on stump liquor to build on top of sand. So that Turkish building ain't long for this world
Okay, we're gonna get a copyright problem here, but that is good stuff right
Jed
there.
Cressbeckler.
Oh.
Or Jode Cressbeckler.
There's some good stuff there. Oh, and you know what? You can find almost all their stuff online. They've made it so easy to consume.
Yeah.
I highly recommend. Once you're done with this episode of JJ Meets World, you go seek that out.
Was it the morning show one where there was the kid who wears the T-shirt in the pool?
Yeah. Like boy wears T-shirt in pool to avoid the jeers and teasing of others, and that kid that they got was perfect too. He was perfect. There's also another one where it's like these two catty girls about their friend has been kidnapped, and they're like, and they won't stop talking. And at one point, like the anchor's like, "Are you guys talking about me?" And they're like, "Whatever." And that one's pretty good too. There's also they did one called Hurricane Ashley about a girl on Cinco de Mayo going to all these bars and getting drunk, and they're like, Hurricane Ashley is gonna hit land.
God, you know what I realized I don't have and need to have is a copy of My Dumb Century.
Oh, it's a fantastic.
Do you think they even have it on the shelf at Barnes & Noble right now?
Maybe.
I bet they don't. I bet they don't have it.
I think you'd be surprised. And like, so Our Dumb Century is one of several books that The Onion put together that are collected works that they've done. But Our Dumb Century specifically includes fake articles from the last 100 years, including one of my favorites, which is Sinatra to Russia, knock off this commie bunk or it's ring-a-ding-ding for you bozos. So good.
There's so many good ones. Holy shit, man lands on fucking moon. Holy fucking shit. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's good.
Protesters protest not being invited to last protest is good. Where they've
Christ returns to NBA.
God answers boys' prayers. No, says God.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of those are just old Onion articles, but they would go through and take actual original like prints and then just change all of
some of that stuff is so good. It's
God,
just so good.
They would even do the logging into the Onion once a week to see the new headlines.
Yeah,
was always the best. Why can't I sell any of these fucking Bibles?
Yeah,
it's a good one. The opinion pieces and the people on the street. Interviews.
Yeah, like the 4 quotes. The like, what do you think about our relationship to foreign oil? And they're like, I'm not related to oil. Okay, let's go read some Onion stuff. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. There's a 5th kind of milk. It's called goat's milk. You don't want to know how to get it.